My name is Asher Griffith, Director of Support and Live Feed on Happy Hour, and I'll be taking care of you this evening.
I'll have an old-fashioned.
And right now, we're having our first annual Carnival membership drive in order to drum up support from loyal listeners like you so that we can keep the wheels turning and move the show forward.
Bourbon.
You can pledge your support for Happy Hour at patreon.com/It's New Orleans Happy Hour. Even as little as $1 a month means the world to us. Think about it. For the cost of your cocktail, you could support Happy Hour for a whole year.
Rocks.
Bourbon Old Fashioned on the rocks, coming right up. That's patreon.com/It's New Orleans Happy Hour to pledge your support.
Thanks.
No, thank you.
It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's NewOrleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you. Because that's New Orleans, and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar today, we're at the fabulous Wayfare on Ferret Street, where they have a 4-hour happy hour here every single day of the week, from Monday to Friday, and a brunch on the weekends during happy hour here. Everything's half price. The drinks are half price, and the bar food is half price as well. Before we get started, let me tell you what's going on. There's a, what is this thing called, you guys? There's a David Bowie burlesque tribute show at One-Eyed Jack's on Saturday night. Did you know about that, Rene?
I did. I know the guys playing drums, Eric Bolivar.
Okay.
Yes.
Is he any good? Is he a good drummer?
Yeah, he's a fantastic drummer. Yeah.
There's all kinds of interesting people doing this thing. Were you invited to be in it?
No, I actually played on a Bowie tribute that Carlo Nuccio organized a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And Eric played on that as well, but that had huge cast of people. It was wonderful.
Hang on, if you're wondering who this is Rene Coman, who is the bass player in the Iguanas.
Yes.
Among other attributes.
Greetings, Troubled Nation.
And he's the co-host of the Troubled Men podcast.
Yes, Troubled Men podcast.
We'll get onto that in a minute. And also, Owen Legendre is here.
Yes, sir.
Who's one of the Jingle Boys.
One of the Jingle Boys, yeah.
Also, one of the bare-handed bear handlers.
It's a mouthful on purpose.
Yeah. It is hard to say that. And one of the great online video comedy troops. Well, I know whether people
of New Orleans,
in New
at
Orleans.
least, yeah.
I think. Well, you guys are on Funny or Die, right?
That's
Which is a pretty big national deal.
Yeah.
It's the Will Ferrell.
We've gotten out of New Orleans a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got tens of thousands of people watching these videos of yours.
I'm related to half
They're
of
very
them.
funny. Anyway,
Yeah.
So if you've never heard of Owen, Owen's here from the bare-handed. What is it?
Bare-handed bear handlers. Yeah.
How'd you come up with that name?
So my buddy Dave that started it with me, we were freestyle rapping one night, and I believe the line was, "Fuck a chair, bare-handed bear handler. My ass is something like I'm spinning on. No, my ass is smooth like I'm sitting on a sander." And I was like, "That's dope. We should call that the group." And that's how our group started.
That's how. So say those lines again.
Dude, this is like 10 years ago when I came up with it. Fuck a chair, bare-handed bear handler. My ass is smooth like I was sitting on a sander.
And what drugs were you guys on when you came up with it?
All of them. Yeah.
Everything at the same time?
Everything, yeah.
That's very impressive.
Not anymore, though.
Can you still do freestyle rapping?
Oh,
like that?
yeah.
Can you just
do
at
a
the drop
couple
of a
more
hat
drinks
do
in
one
there.
any old time that someone summons you up?
Let's call back to me at like minute 40, and we'll do it.
Okay. I'll write that down. How many beers do you need to do that?
Half. I'm already there. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. And Kate Becker's here as well. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
So
I'm in
Kate is
good
an
company
ecstatic
here.
dancer.
That's true.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is the word ecstatic correct?
It is. Yeah. And people use that word for all kinds of things. Ecstatic voice, ecstatic body, and ecstatic breath. So
And
those
is
are
it
the three arms.
Say it again. Ecstatic voice, ecstatic body, and ecstatic breath.
Yes.
Are you involved in all of those?
Yes. Well, they weave in and out of each other. So the backbone of my work is therapeutic breath work. That's really heavy-duty breathing. It's body-based trauma therapy. So anything from excessive and really limiting trauma to being unsatisfied for all kinds of reasons, having trouble sleeping, a lot of people that have addiction or anxiety or things like that. So we use this breathing process to get at the cellular trauma. So we know that from all kinds of trauma research that it's not enough to do mental cognitive therapy, that we need to include the repressed trauma in the body. So that's kind of the avenue. And the voice and the body
Are you a trained therapist?
in therapeutic breath work.
But you didn't come through school and get a degree in psychology and a clinical psychologist.
No, it's body.
So you
based.
just sort of came up with this whole crazy idea.
No. I've got excellent teachers. Yeah.
So who did you learn
Make
from?
this up. Did you make it up on your own?
Well, it's funny because I was kind of on this track anyway, and then I fell into breath work, and it really just blew my whole world open. I've been on this long trajectory of wellness, and yet what I was coming up against is that people are, going through the same cycles of limitation over and over and over again. And really, this was the first practice that I was involved in that really was like getting to the root of what was going on and
But
really shifting stuff.
What is this tradition? Where does this come from? If it's not,
Okay,
it's not psychology and it's
I'm
not...
going to take it back. Well, there's an aspect of psychology to it. You can use this work in tandem with other modalities, but really where it's coming from is trauma research combined with people doing consciousness research. I mean, the grandfather really is Stanislav Grof and kind of the psychedelic people.
Stanislav Grof. Is that someone's real name?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a good name for a freestyle rapper right there.
name.
Stanislav Grof.
You can throw that in.
What does he look like,
wherever you
Stanislav
want.
Grof? I'm going to have to write that down.
Well, he was a handsome guy in his day. He's getting up there, but he's still...
Is
Still
Goff
with us.
G-O-U-G-H?
It's what?
Still with us, though.
Yes, he is
Yes,
still with
okay.
us. Yeah, absolutely. And still working and still doing breath work.
Okay.
Full of vitality.
So he came
that
up with
guy.
this idea.
Well, the consciousness studies that they were doing and they were finding, it has all these amazing psychological benefits to it. But they were kind of cut off from using hallucinogenics, which is how it began.
Ah, now we're
And-
talking. Okay.
So,
That's how it all began, with hallucinogenics.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
where the
This-
word... Go
I'm
on,
sorry.
Renee.
well,
Go,
it's
go on.
consciousness studies.
So does this go back to Timothy Leary and all of that
Yes.
research?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is, we're talking in the 70s, and this is what people were calling it then as rebirthing. Anyway,
Yes.
so there was all this money for consciousness-based research, but in the United States, where these guys were getting pulled into and so much interest, you couldn't use the drugs. So they needed to find a way, and they did tons of research in indigenous communities all over the world where people were achieving altered consciousness without using hallucinogens. And we know this. You move
So
from
this
the...
is how to get high without drugs. This is what you're saying?
That's definitely
Well, this would be a
part of
great
it.
service you would do to the whole world if you could hook
I
us
know.
up with that.
I know.
This
Well,
is
why
what
I
you're-
leap around to talk about it, because people are like, they do this process, and they're like, holy shit, I had no idea that I could reach that kind of state of healing, vulnerability, expressiveness, really connect to myself using my breath. I mean, it blows
And
people's minds
can
all
you
the time.
have sex while you're fucked up like this on breath?
People do
Or
it
is it
already.
some
It's
sort of-
tantra, yeah.
They do. There is a system.
There's a way to use what you know and what you've experienced in the breath absolutely in a sexual capacity. And it's, it,
Okay,
it
well,
really,
things are
truly
picking
is
up.
tantra.
And is it called fucked up the same as when you do drugs? Or has it got a more appealing sort of therapeutic name? Ecstatic.
Oh, ecstatic. I mean, really, it's altered consciousness.
Okay.
So it's altered consciousness with the component of a lot of vitality. So you have energy coursing through your body, but it's your energy. You're not taking off your own roadmap. You have
Right.
consciousness with you the whole time.
Thomas.
Grant, I just love that, she's pitching this idea of consciousness, and the first question out of your mouth is, how can I use it for sex?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
this
I
is
like
what
that
No,
too.
first he said,
that
is
was
it
the
like
idea.
drugs?
You know.
That's what most people
Hashtag me too.
That's what that's what we were all doing drugs for back in the day, was to have more fun.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
It wasn't to cure, Timothy Leary was talking about it as a science, as a way to come up with some sort of a, what you're
Opening
talking
the
about.
doors, man.
Yeah,
Is that
but
really
most
why
people
you
are
guys
just-
only did
Totally.
drugs back then? Just to bang each other on them? That was it?
Mostly, I mean, there were people who were doing to try and get to a different place, like Timothy Leary, but most people were just doing it for basic recreation like we are today.
Well, what else are we talking about when we're talking about wellness and vitality and connecting and all these things, which are groovy words, which you can say in certain circles, but really, when you talk about coming out of who you are and having an ecstatic state, I mean, we are talking about having a great time. We're talking about enjoying who we are and our life, and that shit gets way out there. So people being liberated from all the stuff that binds them and keeps them separate from their potential is like a huge party. We get to experience and explore what we really are.
Does the name Wim Hof mean anything? You know who that guy is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole Wim
is that
Hof
connected
school of breathwork. Yes.
Is that close to what you do? Or?
So there's an umbrella of breathwork schools and schools of thought and things that are, and this is emerging. I mean, this is new-ish.
Okay.
You know,
We're on the
this
cutting
form of
edge here on
breathwork.
Happy Hours.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Wim Hof is one of those schools.
Okay.
And he's a total basket case, an amazing breath worker.
He's a wild guy.
Amazing breath worker.
Can you guys explain who Wim Hof is before you go off on
Yeah, I
this?
have no idea who
So
who he is.
Wim Hof is a breath worker who he does a lot of breath retention. So he'll get you breathing really, really fast, and then he'll have you hold your breath either in or out, which causes different physiological responses in the body and neurological responses in the body. But he also works with temperature. So this dude works with athletes on a really, really high level. So he'll have you in freezing water and in hot water, which we use in therapeutic breath work also, temperature gauge and control. But he's just a little bit more, he's eccentric.
But he'll like go climb mountains in freezing conditions and just use that kind of breath work and do it without oxygen, right?
So he's called the Iceman. So he has retrained his body to the extreme using the breath. And that tells us all kinds of things, on top of him just being an eccentric and
How different is this
person.
to like Indian guru type people who are doing this sitting on mountains and being able to control their breathing and their heart rate and so on?
Well, you don't need a mountain. And it's also...
Is it related to that, though, to this Hindu tradition?
There are similarities because it's the breath. There's always going to be similarities. But what's exciting about this work is that we can talk about it now in a way that's really accessible. So we can talk about, like I just said, the neurological and the physiological, along with the mental and emotional aspects of the work. So it can be in a format where you're using it's honed. That's kind of the difference. So there is always going to be some sort of mysterious component to it. It's a huge experience that includes all of the layers of oneself. So you can talk about it scientifically, you can talk about it spiritually, you can talk about it, through avenues of different religions. Anyone using breath is going to experience some aspects of this kind of liberation.
Oh, and do you know anything about this?
Absolutely nothing. Zero. I barely breathe myself.
You are breathing. Right?
Barely breathing.
Oh my God. You're blowing my mind. I really didn't know that you could breathe without oxygen.
But freestyle, like what you're talking about, freestyle rapping and doing the creative work that you do. So what do you get into the zone, right? When you're doing that kind of work, you don't think about it. So the energy's moving in your body. You don't have all the mental, cognitive kind of stuff getting in the way. Being in the zone, like you'd say with an athlete, or is part of what we achieve in this work. And it's because we're moving our brain's activity from the frontal cortex, where we have all this opinion and judgment, back into the limbic system, where we're like in our emotional body.
Yes.
It's uninhibited. That's why it's altered states.
There's this thing that I've noticed and consistently happens to me before I play a gig. It's like I know unconsciously, my body knows unconsciously, like, that I'm preparing for this. I will start yawning. Half an hour before, and I've been in backstage, and people are going, "Oh, you guys are tired?" And I'm like, "No, this is not yawning from you're oxygenating your blood, right?"
Oh, your body knows. Your body knows, and none of this is new. It's just that we've learned how to hone it, figure out what works best, what breath pattern works best, and how to support people, and we've turned it into a really, really effective practice.
Okay. So, Rene, have you done any sort of self-discovery type work over all these years you've been in?
Well, I hope so at this point.
What have you done? I mean, how do you know about Wim Hof, for example?
I'm
you
a
too?
Curious guy,
You are?
Yeah, it's try to pick stuff up. Yeah, no, I actually heard him on a podcast and was fascinated by it. And my son's an athlete, and I was trying to get him to listen. Of course, sometimes it takes, you got to tell him 2 or 3 times. But
did he listen to you in the end and listen to Wim Hof with you?
No, he hasn't done any Wim Hof work. He's a lot of a boy.
How did you get from being a musician to starting this podcast? What made you think of that?
I was a fan of podcasts, and I love them because they make me feel less lonely. They keep me company, and so I started off listening to Dan Carlin Hardcore History podcast. That guy's a monster, incredible.
I like the Hardcore History podcast.
So great, man. So Dan Carlin will do 5 5-hour shows on the Mongol Empire.
Right. What did you do to get over your loneliness before podcast came along?
I don't know,
He wasn't lonely when he was younger, right?
It's tough. Well, no, actually, I think I've thought about this, and the first 6 years of my life, I was an only child, and I was desperately lonely, and I don't think I really got over that.
You remember that? You remember the first
totally.
6 years? Do you remember the first 6 years of your life, Owen?
I'm 30 years old and I'm still an only child, so I don't know if that's supposed to mean something.
Do you feel lonely?
Not with you guys. You guys are right here.
Okay,
Just
all
us,
right.
baby.
Well, yeah. No.
Do you remember your early childhood, even through your birth?
Really patchy.
Yeah, me too.
Really
Most people
patchy.
don't remember the first 6 years. I mean, maybe they might remember like when they're 5 and 6 or something. But
No, I remember.
You vividly remember being.
I remember being 3. Yeah, I remember a lot of stuff.
And this was
from-
in Haiti where you started out.
No. That's my family. That was 200 years ago.
Oh,
No,
really?
we've been in New Orleans for 200 years. That's
Oh,
what I'm
so
saying.
you-
They came here from Haiti, not my
Oh, I thought
parents'
you
family.
came here from Haiti.
No, I said 200 years ago.
Okay, so this is the information
In a
I've
different
got.
life.
Yeah.
Okay, came to New Orleans in 1798 from Haiti. I see. That
Yeah,
wasn't you.
That was not me.
That was
No,
someone
I'm
else.
Not a vampire.
Oh, so you were.
Not yet.
So you were
anyway.
born here.
Yeah. I was
So your
born-
family came here in 1798.
Yeah.
What did they look like?
I don't have any photographs of them. It's I don't think they were taking photographs at that point.
In
Or,
1798.
or drawings. I think photography was developed in the 1800s, right?
Right.
Okay. As far as
Okay,
I
so
know.
you were born here in New Orleans.
Yeah. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here.
Where were you born? What part of the city did you grow up?
Actually, I was born just right down the street at Baptist Hospital. But
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we lived on Franklin Avenue and North Miro.
And your
So-
overwhelming sensation of your childhood for the first 6 years was loneliness. That's pretty sad.
Well, no. So
see why you're a bass
my
player.
parents were very nice to me. They didn't, they weren't cruel.
It's an only
They were-
child syndrome. It's not like you're actually lonely. You just don't have anyone to hang out
You just
with.
spend a lot
Hang
of
with.
time by yourself. Anyway, yes.
Did you
and-
too, Owen? As an
I
only
never
child?
had any brothers and sisters. I have stepbrothers and sisters. They were always older.
But were you aware of being alone as an only child?
I think you cope with it in a way that you find yourself. Like I wouldn't be who
Yeah.
I am if I didn't spend so much time alone.
Right.
Right.
As a
No,
kid,
I can spend
you know?
You
time
think you'd be
alone,
more
but-
normal?
Hope not. I like this.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
I like that's
really
The
sweet.
world
Good
needs
to
you. Did you have brothers and sisters, Kate?
I have one fantastic sister,
She's older, younger.
1 year.
1 year what?
Older.
Older. She's
Yeah,
1 year
yeah,
older.
1 year
Okay.
older.
And she's where?
She's in Portland, Oregon, with her partner and her 3 kids,
All right.
and I miss them all the time.
All right. Do you get to Portland much to visit them?
Not enough, about once a year usually.
Yeah, that's about all you can get away, most people.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you are being lonely as a child.
Yeah, well, I spent my days with all of the 60-year-olds in my neighborhood, and they would sit and drink beer and smoke cigarettes, and I would sit at the kitchen table with them, and they would talk. And so, I think that's one reason, like old people, I relate to them.
Were your
They-
parents ancient or something?
No, they were very young. In fact, my father was in school at the time, and my mother was working.
So they just let a whole lot of
And,
60-year-old people into your house while you were there and
No, it was my.
to smoke cigarettes.
We lived next door to my grandparents, so it would be my grandparents, and then their neighbors, and they were all retired, and so that's how I would spend my days. But
Hey.
but I'm someone who's. You might notice I'm a bit needy. I need human contact.
I hadn't noticed that.
Oh well.
His hand's
No.
on my knee under the entire show.
I don't want to say where your
I
hand
wasn't gonna
is.
say anything, man.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
do whatever you want down there.
Okay, well it's early, but.
They did give you free reign.
Yeah, we're good friends now.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yes. Grant.
okay, so how does this all lead to hosting a podcast?
Okay, so anyway,
I know where we got and you got to podcast because you were lonely.
right. So
But before then, I was
so I
asking you,
became
how did you assuage your loneliness before you discovered podcasts?
Well, aren't we past that now? We're
No.
now on to the part of how I.
No,
how
we're
I
just going to
started
go
the
back
podcast.
one more time
Okay,
to
we're going to
what
double
did you
back.
do in between 6 years old and podcasting to stop
well,
being lonely?
Played music, that was a great comfort to me. Actually, that's one thing I did. I would sit and play my instrument, and then I started playing piano as a child, and I could entertain myself for hours just playing piano.
Were you
know.
good? Way back
Yeah,
then?
no.
So you were a good
I-
musician from the beginning?
Yeah, and I was a saxophone player before that. That was my first instrument. I was, always first chair, always, made like district the honor band and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because
So you've worked your way down to the bass somehow, right?
well, I would say I worked my way up to it, actually. So I'd played a couple of different instruments. My father's also a musician, and for Christmas one year, he got a bass as a present because he had a band that was like a organ trio, and his organist kicked bass pedals.
Okay.
He didn't have an actual bass player, and my father thought, well, for some of these rock tunes, it would be good if we had somebody playing bass. So my father thought, well, I'll get one. I'll teach myself to play. Well, he didn't, but I immediately picked it up and started playing. Wow. Then I went to this summer program, the governor's program in Lake Charles, and the orchestra director said, it was actually Tony Kushner's mother, Sylvia Kushner. Tony Kushner, the writer of Angels in America and Lincoln and Munich. He was my counselor there.
Tony Kushner was your counselor.
My counselor. Yeah. Yeah, and I immediately latched onto him and started hanging around with him all the time, and it was he really hung around the older
What sort
kids.
of a summer camp? This is a music camp?
No, it was like a school camp. It was a public. It was subsidized by the state. It was the governor's program for gifted children, if you must know.
Okay, so you're a gifted kid.
Yeah.
He was digging for that.
And how did Tony Kushner get involved?
Well, he
from
was,
here?
He's from Lake Charles, and he was a former camper. He had gone to the camp, and his mother. So both of his parents were musicians, and they taught at McNeese State. His father was the orchestra director in Lake Charles and Lafayette, I think. So
you're a smart kid to start with.
Smart ass, yeah.
Right. Well, you are very intelligent, right?
Sure.
So, what makes you want to? Is there any outlet for intelligence in a band in New Orleans?
Oh yeah.
Or did you have
the bands I play with, everybody's smart.
They are.
I don't play with anybody that's stupid. I mean, I would, but
if the money was right.
Well, if they're good players, there's different forms of intelligence for sure, and not everybody's verbal.
Right.
But it so happens that, every band I play with, every single person is hilarious and
smart. Do you find that, Owen, in the entertainment business, that everyone's smart here?
Yes, 100%. Also, because I'm usually the dumbest dude in the room, so I always assume everyone's way smarter than me.
Self-deprecating.
That's a good way.
Have to.
That's a good assumption to make that.
Yeah.
So were you in a gifted program at school?
I'm going to say no. No, I barely graduated anything.
You grew up in Thibodaux.
I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was born in Thibodaux.
And then where did you grow up?
In St. Pete, Florida.
St. Pete, Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's where everybody's stupid, right?
That's where everyone is stupid.
So
So actually, I did pretty well
you
in
must have-
Florida.
yeah.
I did really
Is
well
that
in Florida.
true? Is that-
And then when I came back here, I was now the dumbest dude in the room again.
Is that true that everyone's stupid in Florida, or is that just a terrible cliche?
I mean, my mother lives in Florida. I'm not going to say that to her, but yeah.
But overall, you get the sense. Maybe it's just the
they're
places
idiots
that
over
we
there.
go to.
They're floor idiots for a reason.
Have you ever seen those websites, Florida Man?
I made a movie about Pensacola
you
lifestyle, and it was basically just a play on trailer park life, the
Right.
biggest idiot on the planet, and his idiot
That is damn funny.
ensemble.
That Pecan, Pinwheelie.
Yeah. When I've never been to Pensacola. People think that I'm from
You've never
there.
been to Pensacola?
No, never been.
How did you not ever go to Pensacola?
I think I've driven through it, like going down 10, going back that way.
It's a nice town.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty.
I always just saw it as just like, oh my God, there's these giant condos and a Waffle House and a strip mall with a little club in it that plays the same music as everywhere else and a lot of Jimmy Buffett.
It's on the water, though, right?
Yeah, so were we.
But the
not
United
really.
States is basically what you just described, replicated every few hundred miles.
Yeah, it's the most uncultural place that I've ever been to. So that's why I picked that as the butt of the
Pensacola.
joke of that whole movie. Yeah.
I don't think it's that much different from a lot of other places, but it's a good little movie.
We need to go together. We'll go look around. We'll go look at it.
I can't believe you've never been there. It is fun there, isn't it, Rene?
Yeah, I like the
Go to
Gulf
the
Coast.
Yeah, I do
it's,
too.
It's
That's where you get the impression that everyone's pretty stupid because you've been to Niceville, for example. Did you go there?
I don't think I have.
To
Where
put
is
it,
that?
okay, so one time that I was passing through there, I asked someone where to eat lunch because I wanted to go to the mom and pop spot, the place where that people live there actually go that was banging.
Okay.
And the lady was like, I don't know, I'm going to Subway. And I was like, what the fuck? You don't have anything to,
See, I would have just gone to Waffle House because I love Waffle House. They're always the same.
You should see the Pensacola Prophet. It's all about Waffle House. I think it's mentioned about 100 times in it.
Maybe it's
really
a facade to keep everybody out. It's so beautiful there.
It's
They've got
gorgeous.
to put up a
And
really
that's the
trashy
craziest
front.
thing. And it's like, why?
That's the irony.
Yeah.
why aren't you cooler? Because it's
Yeah.
so pretty here. You know?
Well, that's
Well,
the
then
irony.
you wouldn't
It's-
have a job.
yeah.
So how's that going, this whole Pensacola Prophet? That's a big production. It's like 20
Well, I'm trying to push it as a pilot because it's about 40 minutes long. It's
Yeah.
done. Like Stamp, we premiered it at New Orleans Film Festival, I guess
Nice.
2 years ago now, and it's just been sitting around. I tried to start writing some other stuff to move on away from it because that was like a 2-year project.
We
'Cause
want
I
to
was-
see it. How
Yeah,
do we see
It's
it?
on YouTube.
It's on the YouTube now. You can catch it on YouTube. If you search
Pensacola Prophet, The Legend of Pecan Pinwheelie.
Pecan Pinwheelie, which was started as a band. I was asked to play a show at Siberia opening for this band called Turquoise Jeep, which you may not be familiar, but they had like
I
a
know
viral.
'em.
They had a viral video.
Let me smang
See,
it.
Let me
Rock
smang
knows
it. Yeah, the smang it dudes. And
C-Rock knows
so they contacted somebody who was like, I don't want to do that. You should call these barehanded bear handlers guys because they're making funny videos and they can do it.
Man, I was watching your rose video today, and I was laughing out loud.
Nice, man. Awesome.
Yeah, these guys are funny.
I had to walk over and show it to my son. Particularly when it's the keyboard break, and the hands start flipping over.
That's the best. That's the
That was so
funniest.
funny.
Yeah, and you know, like when we were shooting that, I was like, all right, now just go like that. Just do it like that. It's like, we were trying to match it up in time with him playing the actual piano, and then Dave is just like, can I just? And that's what made the cut.
Yeah, man.
So who pays for all this production?
You want to see my credit card bill on here?
So
Get a
you're
credit card
financing all the
statement
stuff
done.
Yeah, what's that
yourselves,
number?
you guys.
Can we put that on the air?
Oh my god.
What's the security code number?
It's actually what we pride ourselves in is it looks a lot more expensive than it actually is.
That
So,
looks super slick and
I know,
professional.
I know.
That's skill.
And like that rosé, maybe $400 to shoot that.
Really?
Nice.
Are you serious?
Totally.
So you just bankroll these things yourselves?
Because it's like a couple $100, and I've got 4
To
or
make
5
that
guys
whole
behind me,
Pecan Pinwheelie
and they'll
thing?
kick in some stuff. We borrow gear.
But there's a huge number of people in all these. But these all just your friends show
I
up?
buy pizza. Yeah, they're home. They're all friends,
Now, Owen,
and it's fun.
Yeah.
You know.
do you find in New Orleans it's easy to get people interested in doing a project like that, but it's hard to get them to follow through?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I think more so in New Orleans than other places.
I feel that way.
But
Yeah.
also,
Sure.
but the cool thing about New Orleans too is that like people don't take it that seriously here. So like, if I was in Los Angeles doing stuff like this, I would have to pay everyone $300
Yeah.
a day.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
Sure.
And then, shit, I wouldn't make half as much
Right.
as I've made, because
So how are you making money? That was going to be my next question.
I have a day job. I'd make a content production for this internet marketing company. I make little videos for their Facebook, and their
Porn?
YouTube.
Is it porn involved?
There is
Okay.
some naughty language. Yeah.
Oh, well, that
So
doesn't
you make
count.
videos all day for a living?
Yeah.
Like for the internet, for who?
For this company,
Can
it's
you say
called
the name
Nibble.
of it?
It's called Nibble. They're out of New York. They have an office here in New Orleans.
Nibble.
And the video team is actually in New York. Shout out Frank if you're watching this right now.
Right.
And I'm the only video guy here. And at first I started doing these like hip hop videos for them. They were like kind of stop motion cutout stuff, which was cool because I got to put like my sauce on it, you know, like my hip hop sauce. But they were basically just like make a video a week, and like we'll pay you a salary.
And
that
who are
was,
the
like,
clients?
Nice.
What sort of people?
Just internet company, BarkBox, Zulily, fucking ad revenue is all they really bank on. They don't. I mean, the video team doesn't make near as much money as the rest of the company does, but I think they just want to have a division that makes videos. You know,
Well, that's cool.
internet world,
Can
dude.
you
It's
understand this,
crazy.
Kate? What's going on here?
Well, my question was, is it soul sucking or is it really okay? Does it support your other work? Okay.
Yeah. all right.
No, my separate work is really separate from the stuff that I do for them.
Okay.
There's a little bit of my personality.
But you get to make
Right.
videos for a living.
But I get to make stuff
rather
yeah.
than
something out of nothing.
working
That's-
in a bank or
and that's a
whatever.
dream come true.
Yeah.
I'd rather, you know.
You get to work in your field, and that's incredible.
Right.
And so
It's-
in that way,
that's
it
pretty
supports
cool.
what you do.
Especially in New Orleans, like if you're not working in the film industry, doing something like this where I get to write, act, produce, and edit,
Yeah.
Right.
and get paid.
And how do you get to be on Funny or Die, which must be extremely competitive to get on?
We went out to LA and met with them because we had a pitch. It was after we made Jingle Boys, and we had a pitch
Okay,
for
tell me
like
about Jingle Boys. Do you know what Jingle Boys is?
I do not.
You would
I'd love
love
to know.
this.
It's a web series that I made with my partner in Bear and Bear Handlers, Dave Davis. Shout out Dave Davis. Shout out Mike Kennedy, who pretty much put all of Jingle Boys together. And then we were like, would this cool thing be if these two idiot characters made dumb jingles for fake businesses in every episode.
Which is kind of what you do for a living now,
Which
I
is
find
exactly
out.
what I do for a living now. So it all worked out, you
Nice.
know? And that was cool. That happened a while ago. We made 5 episodes.
So Jingle Boys is what got you on to Funny or Die?
Jingle Boys is what got us in the door
Okay.
with Funny or Die, and then they saw the music videos and they were like, oh, damn.
Okay,
Y'all-
what's Funny or Die? I'm so sorry. I'm
Oh, my
behind the
goodness.
They're
times.
like
here.
not as big as they used to be.
Is that right? They're not. I
No,
thought
they're
they were
not.
the sort of the industry standard of online
Now-
comedy.
So I'm catching it on
Now
the
it's
tail end.
YouTube, man. Now it's just like
Just random?
just random shit. Like there's no like one-stop shop place to go. People watch whatever they want to watch.
But how would you find someone like you guys? How would you find the Jingle Boys if you didn't go to Funny
It's
or
a
Die?
$1 million question, Grant. Who
If we
knows?
could answer that. Hey, you want to play something?
Yeah.
Grab the guitar.
Let's do a barehanded.
Sounds
Well, I'll do
great.
a barehanded barehandler song.
Okay.
Do we have to
April-
freestyle rap or no?
I mean, you're gonna take a solo, right?
Yes.
Well, I was going to solo over to the bar and get another drink.
We can get you a drink without you having to move.
Oh, okay.
even.
All right.
Someone will get Colin will help hook you up with a drink.
Shit.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Sorry, I can't hear you for a second.
Oh, you have a little.
You know, I have
instrument.
something to say while he's getting just
Yeah, right.
doubling back to what he was talking about, how he started doing this thing for fun, and then it led to something that, you know, it became a job, and you never know where something's going to lead. You know, like people will say, "Oh, you want to come do this gig? It's you know, just or come make this recording. I can't pay you," and I'll almost always say yes, because I've wound up in spots that were totally great and, you know, very you know, lucrative from starting something that from doing something that I didn't get paid for in the first place.
Oh, I'm
And
totally with you
just
there.
any kind of activity is always good,
So
right?
always
Get
say
involved.
yes.
You gotta get
Movement,
involved
forward
somewhere.
movement, yes.
Let me just see if this is gonna blow your microphone away, because it's a meaty old Martin here. Cool? You're cool with that?
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
so
what are you going to play?
This is one of our first songs that I think is one of my favorites. It's about old people, and it all kind of ties in with the Florida vibe thing happening. We have a music video. Check it out on YouTube. Platinum Plated Walker. We're in full prosthetic old man makeup the entire time, and we shot it at the old bingo hall out on Airline Highway. It's awesome. It looks awesome.
I would do that for free.
Oh, people did do it for free. It's yeah. Real OGs, man, original grandpas. I've been 40 years and no hip to stand on. And I don't care, that shit don't bother me. I don't need no work, I got the social security. When you hit my age, you don't need a cell phone. I slang Viagra at a nursing home. Yeah, they still let me drive, but there's no need to panic. A car crash can't kill me, I survived the Titanic. Rolling down the block, no teeth when I smile. Keep my left blinker on for at least a mile. How in tarnation do I turn off these wipers? Stop at the gas station, I need more diapers. I'm crabby, no pinchers, I'm snappy with my dentures. I'm a skeezy old geezer on some easy chair adventures. Senior citizens, senior citizens, senior citizens, and all my friends are dead. Yeah, my pubes been gray since 1968. And Amelia Earhart, she was my very first date. And the first rhyme I wrote was called Little Bo Peep. Now my little boo's sweet, cause she's got no teeth. Used to be bombs went off, and we all went underground. Well, now I'm dropping bombs in a brand new hover round. Did I ever tell you about back in the day? Huh? What'd you say? All right, and there's no need to shout. What the heck was I talking about? Senior citizens, senior citizens, senior citizens, and all my friends are dead. Fought in World War II, now I'm coming at you. Gonna kick you in the head with my Velcro shoe. Yeah, I'm jacked up on smack and doctor says I can't booze. Challenge me to bridge if you're trying to lose. When I sit on the toilet, my nuts hit the water. I ain't no baby daddy, I'm a fucking grandfather. I'm pushing 94, and I'm moving kinda slow. I'm writing 50-cent checks at the grocery store. Huh! Cure for the common cold's a cigarette. Can someone please explain where I can buy a fucking internet? Hip-hop making, and I'm old hip breaking. And I seen all y'all's grandmamas naked. Ellie Roosevelt, she knitted me this sweater. Whatever that you do, I used to do it better. Rook to A7, not that one, that's a pawn. Hey, you kids, get off of my lawn. Platinum plated walker, old lady gawker. Just met my granddaughter's daughter. Platinum plated walker, old lady gawker. Just met my granddaughter's daughter. I'm crabby, no pinches, snappy with my dentures. Skeezy old geezer on some easy chair adventures. Senior citizens, all my friends is dead. That's...
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's like... It was originally, it's a rap song, you know? It's not like an acoustic thing. Like, it bangs. It's like a banger, you know?
Yeah, that's it. It's called Platinum Plated
Walker.
It's an honor to be on the show with you, man.
Dude,
That
you
was
guys
great.
are cool as
That
heck,
was
too.
great.
It's a great song, and you've got a hell of a memory to remember all that.
That is the hardest thing about rap. I stopped writing rap songs because it was so hard to play them live. And then the Pecan thing was actually all rap music. I don't know what I'm talking about. I always keep falling back into it. But I don't want to do
That's very funny.
that.
Rene, what do you think as a professional musician?
No, I love comedy rock, man. That was great. Hilarious.
Did you say that was rock? Because that's awesome, dude.
Comedy rock.
Fuck yeah.
Comedy rock is where it's at, man. Yeah, how come my mic keeps dropping?
I don't know.
I don't know. That guy doesn't like me. He's giving me a shitty look over there. Oh, that's cool. No, I'm used to it. I get it. No, I totally understand.
Well, you're a
I'm
professional
lot.
podcaster now. How often do you make this
We
Troubled Men
do it once a
podcast?
week. Yeah. We just did one last night. We had the wonderful guest Michael Ceravis on.
Okay, well, he's
Tony
super
Award-winning.
talented. So I'm confused by this podcast of yours because it's called Troubled Men,
Yes.
but it's actually focused on the troubled man for troubled times, who is your co-host.
No, it's
Manny
it's,
Chevrolet.
he's not the focus. He's my
But
co-host.
it's called that.
It's called the Troubled Men podcast.
Called Troubled Man podcast, but the troubled man
Troubled
for troubled
Men.
Right.
Yes.
But it seems to be with Manny Chevrolet. You call him the future mayor of New Orleans.
Well, that's how he refers to himself. So
Okay.
I'm just
But I don't
honoring
understand
that.
why there's no politics on your podcast.
You
why
know,
don't you make it
aren't we
about?
sick of that? Aren't we sick of
Well,
it? I mean, because our
would give
troubles.
you
I mean, our troubles. Are much more primary than that, you know. I mean, the short answer of why I started this podcast, okay, you know, I've been shit talking in bar rooms and nightclubs all around the world since I'm 14 years old. I finally realized that the timeline, that, you know, I was not going to be able to get to everybody. Just
Okay.
one-on-one.
Right.
So I realized, well, podcasting is going to accelerate my, you know, I can, you know, make friends and enemies at a much more accelerated rate over the podcast.
You were just getting short on time.
Yeah.
And deeper friends and enemies, too. Like,
Yeah,
really
well, and-
deep-seated hate for each other.
Magna.
So you're
Yes,
interested
and
in-
love as well, because, you know, I feel like, well, here's the thing. If you're not going to like me, I'd rather you know that sooner. And if you're going to like me, then please tune into the podcast. And that's the great thing about podcasts. If you don't like it, there's a button that makes it stop. And it's right there next to you. So, you know,
We
only...
don't have that in real politics.
Yeah, so, you know, politics are so boring, you know.
But
aren't they?
my thought, the idea would be that if you're going to have a podcast about being the next mayor of New Orleans, you would want to address the
it's
issues.
not. That's not what it's
It's
about.
nothing about. It's not supposed to be about that.
No. The short thing is we talk about good times and air grievances over cocktails.
Okay.
So, you know, if something cool happens, I'll talk about that. If I get into a beef with someone, I'm probably going to roast you on the podcast, you know, like
Look out.
somebody gives me a hard time. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to. I might mention your name. I might not. I might say it in a way that everyone will know who I'm talking about. Or, you know, some people will just wonder, is he talking about me? Maybe.
And are you enjoying it?
Oh, I'm having a blast. It's so fun. You know, I realized I had to go out to Guitar Center to buy a cord for it. This is a couple of months ago, and I was sitting in traffic, and if I'd been going to a gig and somebody told me, Rene, you have to go to Guitar Center at the last minute and get this cord for the gig,
Right.
I would have been furious. But it was for my podcast. I was sitting there happy, and I had that realization. It's like, oh, this is something I enjoy. This, you know, like
So it's kind of like starting again.
well,
It's like finding a new
Well, yeah.
thing that you're excited about. After 20 years of doing it, you might not be so cool about sitting in the traffic on the way to your task.
20 years, you're pretty optimistic about my whole timeline, I think, at this point.
What are you expecting to do with this?
What do you mean?
With this Troubled Men podcast? It's going to go on forever?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I would like for it to. It's becoming more fun all the time for me. It's more interesting. It's what's fascinating is things that totally unexpected things happen on every single show, including last night's show. I never would have predicted what went down.
What happened?
Well, listen to the podcast.
We
I'm
have
not
to
going to
go
give it
listen.
away. Troubled Men
where can we hear
podcast. So it's on iTunes. It's on every podcast format. If you just look up Troubled Men podcast on Google, you'll see we have a website and it's
So
hosted
he's
by
going to let it
somebody.
evolve because he's a creative guy and he likes to stay at the edge and he's smart, like you said. He's going to let it evolve. And like you said, he has no idea what it could turn into.
Right.
It's like that's a creative process.
Did
You got to
you
stay
set-
at the edge, Rene.
Did you start out your business, Kate, knowing what it was going to turn into? Did you start?
Absolutely not.
So how did you get into this? How did you start?
Well, I've been involved in dance, movement, voice type work for a really long time. So I really was, already had moved from kind of the sheer performance world into the wellness world, healing arts world, because it was obvious to everybody.
You
and to
started off
myself.
as a dancer,
Yeah, as a performer.
professional dancer.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Alaska originally.
Really?
Yeah, I left in '99.
What brought you to New Orleans?
Just the magical magnet
It was
that is
warmer-
this city.
warmer than
Yeah,
Alaska?
I was working my way, down the coast. I was living in Bellingham, Seattle, Olympia, where I went to college, and then Portland.
You ever spend any
And
time
then-
on the trains? You ever ride the rails?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I
Like
mean,
a hobo?
in Europe, in Europe.
Okay.
I like where this is going
like
now.
train hopping.
Yeah,
don't know.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. But I was, you get to doing creative work and doing performance work, and then it was such a beautiful experience that I loved and was drawn to. And then I was just tapping into the benefit of a studio in Olympia. It's a 5-rhythm studio, the ecstatic or healing qualities of those things. And I was always really attracted to it. So the movement and voice and performance kind of related arm to it all weaves back in now to the core, which is the breath work. So coming back to the breath again. But I had no idea that I would. It's like I said, when I found breath work, it was for my own practice, my own evolution. There were things that I just wasn't getting to the other side of. And discovering breath
Were you
work.
dealing with something in your own personal life?
Oh, yeah, like everybody. You want to be.
Did you have an issue, though? I mean, did you have a single issue that you were trying to deal with? Were you unhappy about something?
Yeah, certainly. But I think specifically for me is like my template story, and it's beautiful, and it's kind of just maybe for another time. Really, the thing that I leap around about or get excited about is that when I tried breath work, there was nothing else represented like that in my life. So when I work with people, and I watch them physically and emotionally, psychologically transform from a place of stuckness into a place of vitality where they're trusting themselves, their intuition about how to go about their life. And, like anything else, it's a long road, but this work is the big guns. So it's like the movement and the other branches, like the movement, the voice, the expressive arts component of it is so near and dear to me. But the breath work itself I consider kind of the big guns. That's really where it becomes
Zero.
powerful.
Yeah, maybe it might not make for great podcasting, but is there any sort of breath work we can do, all of us together right now, to sort of...
Oh, it's
Something
trippy.
quick. Get
high?
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
And this is fun to play with too. Some breath workers are like, "Don't do this at home. You're not going to go into a, just." So the thing about this breath is that it's cyclic. There's no pause. And I do heavy breathing on accident now in public. It's horrible because I just am used to this process so
Heavy
much.
breathing on accident.
Yeah.
I'll have to write that
it's
down,
really
too.
So
creepy.
we're
it's
not
really
going
creepy.
on like hyperventilating ourselves, huh?
No, you would think so because it's faster than normal breathing, but it's
Okay.
actually not hyperventilating. It's hypoventilating.
Hypoventilating.
You want to hear it? You want me to breathe
Yes,
into
do
the
it.
mic?
Yes,
All right,
do
so
it.
it's faster than normal breathing without pause, and it sounds like this.
Should we follow with you?
Now we're going to speed it up now.
So all that's going in.
fill the whole heart center. I want to see you guys puff out the chest. Beautiful. So really, you're filling.
Owen's not looking too good.
All right, we go another couple minutes. No,
Couple of minutes?
No. So
Okay.
this process. I mean, you're really filling the
Syrup,
upper.
did you feel anything?
I'm lightheaded.
Yeah, for sure.
Owen, you all right?
Yeah, no, it feels good though.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels
Renee, you
warm.
okay?
It's a
So even
warming
after,
sensation.
yep, absolutely. Even after a couple of minutes of this kind of breath, you can start to feel tingles in your body. You start to feel
my
the
face look red?
physiology. Well,
That could be
not
the
more
drink.
than usual.
Not
yeah.
more than usual.
Looks like a
See, I
cocktail and
feel
a half worth of rosiness.
So,
I feel
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
You feel red?
Pretty
Hot?
red. I
You,
feel
too,
hot,
you look
red.
a bit hot. Yeah, you
Yeah.
look a bit red.
So you can tell. I mean,
Okay.
just after a couple of minutes of this facilitated work, or you can, like I said, try it on your own. But you are actually moving the brain activity to a different part of the brain, and you're starting to have an
Is this
experience.
actual science? You're moving the brain
Absolutely.
activity
I'm
to
so
a different
glad you
part
said
of the
that.
brain.
So
What does
there's
that mean?
so much, and thankfully, because there's so much modern trauma science research now, and Peter Levine, and thanks to Stanislav Grof
Stanislav
and those,
Grof, I was just gonna bring him up.
those people. But Jim Morningstar through Transformations USA, who are my teachers
Okay,
up
so
in
just go
Milwaukee.
back to moving. What did you say about the brain again? Moving the brain,
The brain
activity to
activity.
another part of the brain.
Yep,
What does
yep.
that actually mean?
So when you take a brain scan, you're looking at, and somebody's thinking or doing something, and
Yes.
you change what they're doing, and you'll notice the differences in the brain.
So if
the
I'm doing something
activity
like
in the
what?
brain.
If I'm writing
If you're thinking
on this
about
piece
something,
of paper, thinking about
if
something.
you're like most of us live in the frontal cortex, we have thoughts, judgments, realizations.
You
We're
can see that
strategizing
in the
everything.
front of my brain.
Yeah, you watch the brain activity. So if you
Okay.
take a brain scan and somebody is doing those things,
Right.
having a normal experience, then it's activated in that front part of the brain. When you start to alter your consciousness, and this is also where it gets really interesting, is the brain, the activity in the brain looks similar when somebody's had an experience of the conscious connected breath in this manner that it does when people have taken a plant-based medicine or hallucinogen. So you're altering your consciousness.
Free. How much does it cost to go to you? Cheaper than
Private sessions
We-
are $70. Those last about 3 hours, and I do groups.
okay.
It's a pretty good price for
pretty not
3
bad.
hours.
Kind
Yeah.
of an impertinent question, don't you
Yeah,
think, Grant?
yeah.
Not really, because I mean, one of it's cheaper than drugs.
Well, hey,
Oh, okay, well.
you got to know how to choose your medicine. No, and the thing about that too is, and I've had this conversation recently in a situation like this, just hanging out talking to people who are like, really touting the benefits of the hallucinogens, which I love and I think is very, very important for modern psychiatry and psychology and how we look at plant-based medicines. But if you have the full integrated body, and you're not just altering your neurobiology and your brain's activity, but you have the full physical experience, which can be very, very weird in this whole cycle, then you're actually getting at every level of the experience. So you're not just having an experience in the brain chemistry, whether you go back to normal and you still have trauma in the body, you still have limitation living in the body. With
Okay.
the breath work, you get at the physical trauma in the cell of the body. That's the difference. It's just more long-lasting.
So you're saying that you can. This is a whole mind-body cure, or for whatever's for stuckness, especially.
It does come at it from a lot of different levels, and from what I've seen, it is the most effective way to treat the whole person in their trauma, for sure.
So how do people find you? How do you find clients?
Well, my website is theradiantshadow.com.
Okay.
And like I said, the groups and the sessions in breathwork are really the core of what I do, and it's really the inspiration from having these experiences and seeing how it plays out in the lives of people that I'm working with. I'm leaping out of my chair to talk about that. But also there's ways to get into the body and to connect and to feel a sense of wellness. So the two classes, this is kind of how I consider it. It's the breath work is the big guns. You do the session, you get through some major, major shifts and blockages, and you can kind of come out on the other side. The classes are like maintenance. That's like we all have to stay, somewhat aware or go deep, at least, every now and again. So it's the maintenance classes, the radical dance aerobics class.
Radical dance aerobic.
Did you say the Radiant Shadow or just radiantshadow.com?
The Radiant.
The
Thank you.
radiantshadow.com.
Thank you, Owen, yeah. So
Radical dance aerobic.
Yeah, do I get to talk about that now?
Is that something different? I thought that's what you were talking about.
No. So the radical dance aerobics class it's a lead and follow style aerobics class, and so this is what. And when I had that idea, it was like, what is wrong with me? I'm listening to pop music, I'm doing these cheeseball routines, and I was like, you know what? I have to trust this. I feel really good about it. And a year later, this is 2 years now since this class, the facilitation style addresses we're not just getting exercise. We're in there, we're kind of hooting and hollering. There's a lot that goes on for people in this class, and it's facilitated not just with the emphasis on the physical body, but also the emotional body, and what is going on that's like I say in every avenue, that feels like a limitation. And so it's a really empowering space.
Okay, so you're like a mind-body connection healer.
What kind of hooting and hollering go down in this thing?
You gotta come, Owen.
Is it like, or like yelling, or?
It's really the way that it is now. Is
Heart-breathing.
like it's like people get inspired. I'm not kidding. I've never seen this in a dance or an aerobics class before. People are inspired to like do the yell. If it goes with the motion, they'll do the yell, and it brings up more than you would think.
It's like ayahuasca or something.
That's more like the breath work. This is more like you are having the best time at a party that you could ever remember having without inhibitions. And so there's this whole community that's grown up around it.
That's a good question, inhibitions. How do you get people to lose their inhibitions in a class like this when you just show up there? At what time of the day is this?
So it's 7 o'clock on Monday nights.
Okay.
And you can't get people to lose their inhibition necessarily. It has to be an invitation that people feel comfortable and safe. But a lot of the people who've been coming to this class, they create the environment, so you give whoever's standing next to you permission to go deep if you're going deep. And so it's actually,
I'm too self-conscious to do that sort of thing. Would you do that, Rene?
You'll have to do a one-on-one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, not right now, but if you're in the group and everybody's doing it, it's that's.
Have you done something like this?
I mean, I go to synagogue, I pray, I play music with musicians. That's a communal act, that's a thing
That's
that
true.
people, you'd think, well, how do you lose your inhibitions to get up and do this very intimate thing, playing music in front of people? Well, that's part of what you learn as a musician, is to get comfortable doing that. And yeah, it's
a bit different being. Is it therapy though? Playing music?
Oh, it's totally therapy. Yeah, I mean, it feels like the most divine experience. To me, it's that kind of expression of divinity, and that's what we're talking about. It's like that's what your thing is.
Definitely.
It's all.
And even just to say, the music is such a huge part of what I do in the breathwork process. There's a whole arc and a guide, and then in of course my other 2 dance classes, and even in the Kundalini yoga we use a lot of music. And my dream right now, that I'm just at the very very edge of, it's like the beginning of it, is to be doing group breathwork sessions with live musicians.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody.
Would Owen fit in there? Would he go and play something?
I think that the left-handed of the absurd, that this part of the spiritual path is always needed.
I would
That's
just
a good
want to be able to
sign.
bring it out of someone and be like, you just keep digging deeper, you go deeper.
I think Owen can be. Owen's going to be our. He's going to coach us through some of these.
Well, there's nothing much
mind-altering.
more cathartic than comedy when you think about it.
Or, like
Absolutely.
a hairy, guy like me yelling
Well,
at you to
and
breathe
things
deeper.
go on. I mean, in a breathwork session in particular, but even in classes, people will just be laughing hysterically. It's like things get revealed, including the cosmic joke. Things you've been struggling with for a long time. All of a sudden, on the other side of it, it's hilarious. And
Yes.
the most intense creativity can be the result of this, where people are not only expressing themselves, but they're just tangled up in the web and the absurdity, the humor, all of that.
Are you single?
No.
Who's your boyfriend or girlfriend?
Not even going to go there.
Not even going to
So
And how long have you been? How long have you been?
I can't call him out
I
on
would
the
be
radio.
I'm interested to know what kind of person what the relationship would be like to be.
So it is intense. So
Yeah, I would
working in the
think.
field of transformation, where you kind of are in. Oh, this is like therapy. Thank you. So you're in and out of situations where people are moving through intense traumas, whether we know exactly what it's related to or not, and kind of facing some of their biggest fears, really there's nowhere to hide. The breath is a very intense experience, and people go through all kinds of physical, emotional, psychological revelations. I mean, this is intense work. That's why I say it's the big guns.
This is
And
why I'm
so
saying it
to
must be pretty tough to be in a relationship with you because there's no real room for bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think that it's.
So what kind of guy's keeping up with you?
Well, he has a lot of experience in managing and working with intensity. He's an artist too.
Okay.
And this will be interesting to listen to later.
All right. It must be pretty cool to be able to have these kind of conversations with somebody, though, who you're in a couple with.
It's incredibly
Presumably
important.
you could get a lot further than most of us in our relationship.
It's important to be seen and heard and understood and be able to be supported by somebody who kind of gets that deep dive. Because it does get very intense and it does feel like there's a lot of balls in the air at once. And with all the different arms of what I do, I feel like it's really important to have the support coming from someone who is a really, really open person.
Okay. Well, we'll have him on next week.
Great.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
You'd love to be on the
Alan,
show.
you want to play something before we have to get out of here? You want to do one more?
Yeah, I can
What do you
one
think?
more,
Okay.
if you'd like that.
Okay. Yeah, we would. Would you like that, Kate? What do
I
you
would
say?
love that.
Renee?
I'm
Sure,
excited
why not?
already.
Okay. You
So, you know, in the meantime, I'll talk
Yes.
about, I play in the Iguanas. That's my main band. Been
Right.
in that band for 28 years, and we have a steady gig every Wednesday at the Circle Bar between 7 and 10. So that's where I'm going after this.
You're playing every Wednesday at the Circle
Every
Bar with the
Wednesday.
Iguanas. Wow.
Yeah, the Iguanas,
The Iguanas
7
are
to
still
10.
great.
Oh, yeah.
They've been like a popular New Orleans band for since 1990.
Yes, yeah, I joined in 1990.
Yeah. Were they going before that?
Yeah, they played around for about a year, kind of, solidifying the lineup, had a string of different bass players
Right.
before they ran into me, and they couldn't say no.
That's a cool band. It's still a cool band. I saw you
yeah.
guys playing the other night at some weird place at the Pinball Church.
Oh, yeah, the Penn Church. Yeah,
Penn Church.
that's a very interesting
That was
experience.
Totally
yeah.
weird scene as well.
Yeah, I love pinball. I actually have a pinball machine in my home.
Do you?
Yeah. I
Okay.
have the Royal Flush machine. It's
Okay.
one of the best. They have a working version as well.
Have you ever been to the
Penn
Rock
Church.
and Roll Hall of Fame? Have you seen the pinball room there?
I have been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah. It's,
And all the pinball machines that they got in there?
I don't know if I remember
Dude,
that part.
that was the coolest part about it. I went there a couple months ago. And it was
okay.
What about Rene? What about the Geraniums? Can I ask? I just
Yes.
love that band.
I love that band too. That the Geranium, as far as like a spiritual experience, that band really is right up there. So, yeah, I've been playing with the Geraniums for like 20 years. It's Brendan Gallagher is the singer. He writes all the lyrics. Jeff Treffinger, who had. They both actually were owners of the Mermaid Lounge, which was like our clubhouse down there when nothing was on that
Legendary.
on that street. The first time they told me to go down there, I thought this is a good place to dump a body and nothing else. Like nobody will ever come to this place, but it wound up being such a great scene. Played so many great gigs there, but yeah, the Geraniums have a huge catalog, and we actually have like 2 records worth of material that's never been released that Jeff and I and Brendan are going to start leaking out, a song at a time pretty soon.
Wow, can't wait.
And we actually have a gig coming up at the Circle Bar, and I'll figure out while Owen's
Get the
playing the
date.
song.
Okay.
Text it to
Alan,
us.
what are you playing?
This is a slowed down song. It's more of a country ballad, I suppose. More folky. We'll take a departure from the rap stuff for a second. It's about my Aunt Mille, who is in a drug cartel.
Nice.
Well, Uncle Willie spoke the word of the gospel, and Aunt Mille had ties to the cartel. While Uncle Willie was a preaching, she was pushing hashish, and or Willie, he never did know. Well, the street name was La Diabla, donde aprende español, I don't know. She was moving kilos right under our nose. Poor Willie, he never did know. But looking back, it all was so apparent. And looking back, it all was so clear. She was moving kilos of meth, crack, and blow, with selling drugs all them years. Well, my daddy was the first to condemn her, and Mama begged her to go away. I still can't believe on that one Christmas Eve when Santa slept red DEA. This is your solo right here, baby.
Nose.
Trying to remember the last verse of the song. Well, looking back, it all was so apparent. And looking back, it all was so clear. She was moving kilos of meth, crack, and blow. Millie's been selling drugs all them years. Oh, I remember it now. Well, Millie got pinched in Miami, but I never once saw my uncle cry. And that's when it hit me. Uncle Willie drives a Bentley, and he's been in on the game that whole time. And that's when it hit me. Uncle Willie drives a Bentley, and in on the game that whole time. Right? Sorry I messed that last verse up, dude.
Nice.
That was great. Aunt Mille.
Thank you.
What's the name of that song, Owen?
That's called My Aunt Millie Sells Drugs.
Ah, very nice.
I don't even have an Aunt Millie, by the way. No,
Well, just as well.
just as well.
Okay, that was a great note to go out on. Before we leave here, let me just tell you a couple of things here. I just gotta write that down. My Aunt Millie sells drugs.
That's actually not even recorded. I'm working on some new country stuff.
Oh, that's a new one?
Yeah, I got new stuff
Are you
coming
going
down the pipeline.
You going down the country road?
I love country music, man.
Yeah, well, who
I've always loved country music.
It's not to like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best.
It is great.
Well, you do it really well.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's a great. Well, I'm glad that we got to hear it here first on Happy Hour.
This is the
Good
first
place
time
to
it's
try
ever
it
gone
out.
through a microphone, yeah. I think
All
I've
right.
maybe played it live once or twice. But we don't talk about
Okay.
it. No one's recording it.
We're the first.
Yeah, that was
first.
great.
First
Hey,
worldwide.
before we get out of here, thank you very much to Basics Swim and Gym, where you can get a full range of fashion, swimsuits, workout, and yoga clothes with style. Basics Swim and Gym is next to the lingerie store Basics underneath on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue, thanks to Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product that's medically proven to prevent a hangover. You can go to hdestroyer.com and write Happy Hour in the coupon code and get 30% off of your first order of Hangover Destroyer, thanks to the Positive Vibrations Foundation, who create and encourage community through the development and preservation of the arts, music, culture, and heritage, and reminding you, if you'd like to be a part of our Patreon family, go to patreon.com and search for It's New Orleans Happy Hour, and for as little as $1 a month, you can be a member of our Happy Hour family and get all sorts of exclusive stuff. If you're looking for Andrew Duhon, he's out on the West Coast this week, going through his alternative
Andrew.
career
Miss that
as
guy.
a singer-songwriter. If you're looking for him, go to andrewduhon.com. He's somewhere on the West Coast. And if this weekend, if you're looking to do something here in New Orleans, there's the David Bowie burlesque tribute at One-Eyed Jack's on Saturday night, the January the 12th. It's the third annual celebration of burlesque and Bowie, produced by Rory Calais from Vox and the Hound and Darcy Malone and the Tangle and Bella Blue. There's two shows, 8 and 10:30. You can get more info from One-Eyed Jack's website. And that's been Happy Hour. Anything else you'd like to mention before we get out of here, Kate?
Just thank you so much. Please visit
Hey,
my
you're welcome.
website. Yeah.
Kate Becker from, what is the name of your website?
TheRadiantShadow.com.
The Radiant Shadow. That sounds like a sort of a TV show, doesn't it?
Sounds
Could
lovely.
be. Maybe
It
it
should
will
be.
grow into that.
TheRadiantShadow.com.
Yeah, there you go.
And Owen Legendre from Barehanded
Barehanded.
bear handlers.
Thank you, Grant. This is very cool.
It's been
And thank you, dude. Your hand is shaking. You've been holding that gimbo the whole time right over my shoulder.
That's Asher Griffith, number one.
Yeah, you're the bomb.
All right. And Rene Coman from the Iguanas and the Troubled Men podcast has been here as well.
Troubled Men podcast, iguanas.com. And yesterday was David Bowie's birthday. We love you, David.
That's why they're doing
much.
this. Yes, it's a sad loss, that's for sure.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I know.
He left us
Did
so
you hear
much.
that last album he did before he died?
It's fantastic.
Oh, my God.
David, he taught us how to live when he was younger. He taught us how to age, and ultimately he taught us how to die.
Well put.
We can never repay that.
Well put, Rene. Nice. That's been Happy Hour for another week. It's been our first show in 2019. Pretty good time to come back, I think. Good job, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. The producer of our show is Graham DePonte. Our music producers are Christian Unruh and Monique Pyle. Thomas Walsh is our technical director. Our Facebook Live feed director is Asher Griffith, who put this whole thing on Facebook Live. If you didn't see it on Facebook Live, go to our It's New Orleans Facebook page and you can find it. Andrew Searock is our fact checker and social media connector, and our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on our show and you can stay upright for about an hour while drinking alcohol, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, itsneworleans.com. You can check out many other hours of Happy Hour we recorded previously, as well as some other shows we make around here, including Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace, Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tucker, and our award-winning podcast about Death the Podcast, and many other podcasts as well. You can find other great Louisiana podcasts too at Acadiana.com and it's BatonRouge.la. You can keep up with us on Facebook and Instagram and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. On all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on It'sNewOrleans.com and on our It's New Orleans Facebook page and Instagram account. These photos were taken today by Jill Lafleur. You can find more of Jill's photos at LafleurPhoto.com. If you listen to this on your favorite podcast app, thanks for subscribing to us. Take a moment if you go on to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can follow us and get Happy Hour delivered each week. The show is recorded live today at Wayfare on Ferret Street in Uptown New Orleans. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for It'sNewOrleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, as I said, is out somewhere on the West Coast. Everyone else around the table here at Wayfare and back at our office, INO Broadcasting. Thanks for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. I'll see you back here next week for more Happy Hour.
Celebrate Venus Fashion Week and discover the new fall fashion collection while saving at Venus. This weekend only, spend $100 and get an additional $15 off. Spend $150 and get $30 off. Just go to Venus.com and use the promo code SWEATER to save today.